What if someone you loved boarded a modern commercial airplane, tracked by radar, monitored by satellites, operated by trained professionals, and then, without warning, without a distress call, without a clear reason, simply vanished from the face of the Earth? No wreckage at first, no confirmed crash site, no answers, just silence. More than a decade later, that silence still echoes, and the questions remain unanswered. This is the disappearance that still has no logical explanation. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. On the night of March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was scheduled to be one of the most routine flights imaginable. A Boeing 787-200ER, one of the most advanced and reliable aircraft in the world, was set to fly from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport. The journey was supposed to take about 6 hours. There were 239 people on board, 227 passengers and 12 crew members, representing 14 different nationalities. Most were Chinese nationals, followed by Malaysians, Australians, Indonesians, and others. Among them were families, business travelers, students, and children. No one could have known that this ordinary flight would become the greatest aviation mystery in modern history. The aircraft took off at 12:41 a.m. local time. Everything appeared normal. At 1:01 a.m., MH370 reached its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. The weather was clear, the aircraft systems were functioning normally, and there were no reports of mechanical issues. At 1:19 a.m., the cockpit made its last known voice transmission to air traffic control. The co-pilot responded calmly, "Good night, Malaysian 370," as the aircraft prepared to leave Malaysian airspace and enter Vietnamese-controlled airspace. Nothing about the tone suggested trouble. Less than a minute later, the plane's transponder stopped transmitting. At first, this didn't immediately raise alarm. Transponders can fail. Planes can briefly disappear from secondary radar. But what happened next was deeply abnormal. MH370 never checked in with Vietnamese air traffic control. Attempts to contact the aircraft failed. Calls went unanswered. As minutes turned into hours, it became clear that this was not a routine communications glitch. Malaysia Airlines began emergency procedures. Families were notified. And the world began to watch. What investigators soon discovered was even more unsettling. Although the plane's transponder had stopped, military radar systems in Malaysia continued to detect an unidentified aircraft matching MH370's size and speed. According to Malaysian military data, the plane made a sharp turn westward, crossing back over the Malay Peninsula, something that was not part of its flight plan. It then flew northwest over the Andaman Sea. This maneuver required deliberate control. It was not the behavior of an aircraft suffering from sudden catastrophic failure. Then, the trail appeared to go cold. But it didn't entirely disappear. In the days following the disappearance, engineers at Inmarsat, a British satellite communications company, made a crucial discovery. Although MH370's main communication systems were no longer transmitting, the aircraft continued to exchange automated handshakes with an Inmarsat satellite roughly once every hour. These signals did not contain location data, but they confirmed that the aircraft was still airborne for hours after its last radio contact. By analyzing the timing and frequency shift of these satellite handshakes, investigators were able to estimate the plane's possible paths. This analysis led to two vast arcs: a northern arc stretching toward Central Asia, and a southern arc extending deep into the southern Indian Ocean. Further analysis ruled out the northern route, leaving the southern Indian Ocean, one of the most remote and inhospitable regions on Earth. as the most likely final destination. According to the satellite data, MBOS 370 continued flying for approximately 7 hours after its last communication with air traffic control. This meant the plane did not crash immediately. It remained in the air, under power, long enough to travel thousands of kilometers. At around 8:19 a.m., Malaysian time, the satellite communications ceased. This is widely believed to be the moment the aircraft ran out of fuel and descended into the ocean. If that conclusion is correct, MH370 likely ended its flight far from land, in waters several kilometers deep. The Indian Ocean in this region is vast, with powerful currents, underwater mountains, and limited mapping. Searching it would be extraordinarily difficult. Still, the world mobilized. What followed was the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Australia took a leading role, coordinating efforts across multiple countries. Ships, aircraft, and underwater drones were deployed. Advanced sonar technology was used to scan the ocean floor. The search area covered tens of thousands of square kilometers. Months passed, then years, and yet no main wreckage was found. In July 2015, more than a year after the disappearance, a breakthrough of sorts occurred. A large piece of aircraft debris, a flaperon, which is part of a wing's control surface, washed up on Réunion Island in the western Indian Ocean, nearly 4,000 kilometers from the presumed crash zone. Experts confirmed it came from a Boeing 777, and later analysis verified it was from MH370. Over the next few years, additional fragments were found along the coasts of Mozambique, Tanzania, and other parts of East Africa. These discoveries confirmed that the plane did crash into the Indian Ocean, but they did not reveal how, why, or exactly where. The debris was too small, too scattered, and too damaged to provide definitive answers. The main fuselage, the flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder, devices designed to survive extreme impacts, remain missing. As the official investigation unfolded, attention turned to possible causes. Mechanical failure was considered, but no evidence supported a sudden, disabling malfunction. The Boeing 777 had a strong safety record, and there were no distress calls or emergency signals. A fire was also examined as a possibility, but again, the aircraft's extended flight time conflicted with that scenario. That left human intervention, intentional or unintentional, as the most troubling line of inquiry. Investigators examined the background of the flight crew, particularly the captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah. He was a highly experienced pilot with over 18,000 flight hours. No evidence of extremist ties or financial distress was found. However, a flight simulator found in his home contained data suggesting simulated routes into the southern Indian Ocean. Malaysian authorities stated this was not proof of intent, and no definitive motive was established. The possibility of hijacking was also explored. 2 passengers were traveling on stolen passports, but subsequent investigations revealed they were most likely migrants attempting to seek asylum. No credible link to terrorism was found. No group claimed responsibility. No demands were made. The silence was total. In 2018, after years of searching, the official underwater search was suspended without locating the main wreckage. In 2023, Malaysian officials reiterated that the case remains open and that new searches could be considered if credible new evidence emerges. Families of the victims continue to push for answers, holding memorials and advocacy events around the world. What makes the disappearance of MH370 so deeply unsettling is not just the scale of the tragedy, but what it represents. This was a modern aircraft in an era of satellites, GPS, and global surveillance. And yet, It vanished in a way that still defies complete explanation. No confirmed cause. No final moments recorded. No closure. Every theory proposed, whether involving pilot action, system failures, or external interference, contains gaps. None can fully explain every piece of verified evidence. And so, MH370 exists in a rare and haunting space between what we know and what we may never know. For the families of the 239 people on board, this is not a mystery. It is an ongoing wound. A loved one who never came home, a goodbye that never happened, an ending that remains unwritten. And for the rest of us, MH370 is a reminder that even in a world driven by technology and data, there are still events that escape our understanding. Moments where certainty dissolves and questions linger long after the headlines fade. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you think, make sure to support the channel by liking this video and subscribing for more deeply researched stories that explore the mysteries, tragedies, and unanswered questions of our world. Stay connected, stay curious, and join us next time as we uncover another story that refuses to be forgotten.